Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. For those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X, we're glad you all can be with us. We're about to bring in our friends over on Instagram, and then we're going to connect with our friends over on Amazon so we can welcome back today's guest. As always, if you guys have any questions or comments, we do have the chat open. We'd love to be able to hear from you guys, so feel free to be able to put those comments down in the chat for us. And we're now live on Amazon Live with Cyrus Webb Presents. If you guys are new to us on the Amazon platform, welcome. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button, either here in this corner or down below. You also will see some of the books by our next guest. We're excited to welcome back best-selling author Dr. Velma Bagby to our broadcast today. She's also a media personality. She's a speaker. We're going to talk to her not only about her year, but also about the success of this book you guys see here, Hold Your Head Up, Princess, some other ebooks that she released, as well as what's coming up with her show, Dr. Velma Talks as well. Dr. Velma, always a pleasure. Glad to have you back with us.
Thank you so much, Cyrus. I'm happy to be here.
Well, look, you have a lot going on as we're now halfway through the month of June, which is crazy to even say. But
Hmm.
I know you're gearing up for the return of Dr. Velma Talks. We're going to get into that. I want to begin with where we are in the stream of time for our audience. A lot of them, if
Hmm.
they have children, the children are out for the summer, probably at this point. I have said to you, Hold Your Head Up, Princess, I think is a perfect book for those young girls, even young women out there. Talk to us
Yeah.
about this. This initially was a part of an anthology that you did. Now you
Yes.
have it available for people to purchase here on Amazon. What has it been like for you to see the response to Hold Your Head Up, Princess?
I was really surprised, Cyrus, because it was a journey for me when I was actually writing this story. It just evolved. I started talking about myself as a young child, but then it evolved as I transitioned from the young child to, a preteen, then um, as a high schooler, and then a young adult. And it made me realize how much of that journey connected to where I have become, what I have become, and
Yeah.
where I have gone. And so it just blessed me really to hear some of the responses I've seen, including one of the reviews where the person just broke down in tears as they read my story and related it to their own experience.
Wow. Wow. Well, I see you're out actually wearing a shirt that goes along with the message there.
Hmm.
Hold Your Head Up, Princess, as well. So is this becoming like a movement for you to be able to not only to tell your story, Dr. Belma, but also to inspire others to realize their own worth and value?
Absolutely, because wrapped up in that title is pretty much that. Remember to hold on to who you are,
Mhm.
value who you are. And the world, like in my story, the world, don't expect the world to validate it for you. You
Right.
must affirm it yourself. And
Right.
so that's important.
Such a great point. Angela Anderson, hello to you over there on IG, who
Hi,
connected the two of
Angela.
us initially. You and I, that's a great thing for us to talk about, Dr. Man. We were literally just talking about the power of word of mouth. We were just
Yes.
talking about, who do you know and how we connect with people. You and I connected through Angela Anderson, who's joining us over on IG. Hello to you, Dr. Claire. Good to see you over there on Facebook. What has
Hmm.
that been like for you to be able to see how people have found out about your books, like the Catch series and others, and then being able to become readers of yours just from word of mouth?
I'm really surprised that people are still discovering the Catch series and
Mhm.
are in awe about the series. So I'm excited about that. It's good to know that it's staying alive, it's still relevant, and people
Mhm.
are finding um, it helpful
Yeah.
and funny because
Yeah.
some real stories, but fictional stories that speaks to the daily challenges that many women face today.
Mhm.
And then Hold Your Head Up, Princess, again is just a wonderful thing to know that this book can reach such a wide range of an audience from the youngest to a young adult. Like I said, one of the comments from an adult who said she recognized all of those things that I experienced because
Yeah.
she experienced similar things. So I'm excited about all of it.
Yeah. It's an interesting statement you have on the back of Hold Your Head Up, Princess. And I want our
Hmm.
audience to hear this.
Yeah.
Dr. Velma is a renowned podcast host, entrepreneur, best selling Christian author of 25 books.
Yes.
I want to talk about that for a second. Um, 25 books, Dr. And I remember when you wrote the first one, and before you and I met, before the Catch came out, the Catch No One Once came out. What has it been like for you to see how this all began and where you are now?
Thank you, Dr. Earl. Well, first of all, I was a late bloomer, what some might consider a late bloomer in the literary world.
Hmm.
In the world of state government, of course, I was writing all the time, designing training and classes and
Hmm.
facilitating and helping to build new leaders, all of that. But
Hmm.
stepping away from that and retiring, and then 6 years later, at the age of 64, releasing my very first book. So you realize that from 2018 to now, that's a very short span of time that
Yeah.
all of these books have evolved. It just said that this is what I needed to be doing all along. I wasn't sure when I stepped into the literary world, but as it turns out, this is exactly what I should be doing. So I'm excited.
Yeah. And you've been able to write both nonfiction and fiction. You've kind
Yeah.
of broken the norms of some people who would try to put you in a box. I don't like boxes,
Yes.
but
Me
people would try to
either.
tell you, yeah, you can only write this, or you should only talk about that. The great thing that I love about even in the time you and I have worked together, Dr. Bam, is you've
Hmm.
released fiction, you've released nonfiction, you've released now something for young readers. Is that also what you want to show people that you don't have to limit what your abilities and God-given gifts are?
No, you don't. And it depends on, and if you're creative, that really is an open box. You
Yeah.
get to create whatever you're in the mood to create. But
Mhm.
I also want to mention that I helped my granddaughter at the age of 6 to write her very first book, which is a bestseller as well. So I assumed she would be the writer to children. So I never really um, considered going into writing a book that would relate to, preteens. I didn't. I thought my granddaughter would continue to write. She's got 3 books out now, but given that, I my story was important. I didn't realize how far back I was going to go when I began responding to the challenge for that particular anthology.
Mhm.
And when it took me to that place, I recognized so much that I never had an opportunity to really think about before.
Mhm.
Why did my dad call me princess? Well, I was his first daughter. He had sons before I arrived. And
Mhm.
why did my mom tell me, hold your head up unless you have something to be ashamed of? So to think about the fact that I walked all my life with my head up, and I laugh and chuckle every now and then when I find myself doing it again,
Mhm.
that it was what my mom told me to do. Don't hold your head down unless you have something to be ashamed of. So I
Yeah.
put my head up. So looking at back at all of those experiences, I realized that this is something that needs to be told because somebody else may have been um, not realizing their parents spoken to their lives something that will carry with them for the rest of their lives, and it was intended to do that.
Right.
So I thought that was important to share.
Such a great message. Ellen Sutters, hello to you over there on IG. Ellen says, here you all are. Good to see you. She's telling you to be good, Dr. Velma.
Oh,
Oh, wait, well, never mind. She's telling me to be good.
oh. So it's not just me.
Uh, I misread that. But
Mhm.
okay. But Ellen, glad you could join us. So since Ellen is here, that's a great opportunity for us to highlight another book in our carousel. So again, for you guys joining us on the Amazon platform, we're highlighting these books that are there. One of the books that you were able to do your own anthology, the 30-Day Wild Woman of Faith Journal with
Yes.
Miss Queenie Clem. I'm going to highlight it in the carousel on Amazon. Put my copy up here. I'll move. Hold your head up over for a second. Talk to us
Hmm.
about this anthology. That I mean, what was it like for you to go from being a part of others' anthologies to creating your own, Dr. Bama?
Well, first of all, it just made sense. Working with the Catch series, there was so much that the main character, Pastor Grayson, shared with both the women during their conferences and the men during theirs. And I wanted to figure out a way to grab some of those things and put it in an affirmational journal. And what I love about the women I reached out to, they were so ready to offer their piece in the anthology. I'm sorry, in the journal. So
Mhm.
I quickly got 30 women who was willing to share what they feel is something that has held them together and it's something that helps them during their walk. And so it evolved very naturally. And that was when I did the research. I said, wait a minute, this is a series that's a fictional series. The stories are fictional. So how is it okay in in the literary rules to include nonfiction with with what you began as a fictional series? And
Right.
I discovered that it was okay. And that set me free because
Mhm.
there's two non-fictional. books in the series that I felt I needed to go into more detail about because they're discussed in the series.
Yeah. The other one being this one. See, I came prepared.
The Book of
The Book of
Fools, yes.
Fools,
I'm
which
sorry,
is
but that's
here.
one of my favorites.
Yeah, so I'm going to highlight it in the carousel for our audience there. Another great book. So as you can see, Dr. Velma has written something pretty much for everyone. There's another story that's here that's as currently it's an ebook. My 70s love story. I'm going to highlight it for you guys over there.
Yeah.
But Dr. Velma, you also released this year two others. I've been focusing on Hold Your Head Up, Princess, because it is my favorite of yours at currently. But you also have My Yes to God. I'm going to highlight it for our audience over the Kindle edition there. But I want to
Mhm.
talk to you about finding your voice as a corporate laryngitis, because I think that's another one that people can relate to. What was it like for you to share that story and how you've been able to get to where you are today?
As I began understanding the literary world and its rules, I discovered some things. There are rules concerning, writing fiction versus writing nonfiction. And I remember in the beginning, the very first book I wanted to write was based on my conversations with my adult daughters about men.
Mm,
And when I looked at nonfiction and what I could include and not include, I needed to understand those rules. The show don't tell. That's a rule. You can't just tell people what happened. You have to show them what happened, which means you have to be able to really draw them into the scene. What was it looking like? What was the weather? Where were they, in the car, walking on the streets, wherever that happened. So I had
right.
to learn those rules. And so it took me some time before releasing that very first book, because I started on it after I retired. So it took me about 6 years to really
Mm,
understand what I was about to get into and
right.
how I needed to say what I needed to say. And
Mm,
so understanding those rules were important. And then uncovering what was it I wanted to say. Because I always had the voice of the corporate voice working for state government. I
mhm,
wrote for them. I spoke for them. I knew
mhm,
their language. I knew what to include, not to include. When making presentations, I knew how to represent them and what words I could use and could not use. It was never my opinion, it was always their voice. And
mhm,
that's the corporate laryngitis. When I stepped away from that and had to figure out, how do I now share my story and what it is I'm supposed to write about? So it took me some time to really hone in on what I wanted to say and how I needed to say it, because I had to step away from the practice of speaking for the state government.
mhm. Yeah, such an important thing. I want to stay with what you said because you've mentioned now age
Mhm.
twice. And there's so many people, Dr. Velma, who allow age to become the barometer of what they do and what they don't do and what they can't do. We even
Right.
saw it with Veronica in the Catch No One Wants, who she thought by a certain age, certain things should be happening for her. What helped to free you from that, of thinking that it wasn't too late for you to start writing on your own? It wasn't too late for you to start something new. What helped you to realize that?
What is too late, by the way? What is the definition of too late?
Yeah,
Because if we get caught up in that, and that doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter what that issue might be or that
right.
assignment might be that you have, whether it's
Hmm.
your business, whether it's your personal life,
Hmm.
whether it's dating, it doesn't matter. Nothing is too late. As long as you're here living and breathing, you
Hmm.
have an assignment, and
Yeah.
are you fulfilling it? And so that's the question. There are
Hmm.
people who wish they could. I'm now 70, winking at 71.
Hmm.
So does that mean it's still too late? No, it's not. And I've met people both in going into business and those looking for the love of their lives, and was thinking that it was too late for them to do it. I said, please get over that. Heard a story of a man in his 80s walked into a church and told the pastor he was there to look for his wife. And the pastor said, well, nobody's here looking for a husband. And he happened to find someone there. They were married 4 years before he passed away. Was it too late? No, it
Yeah.
wasn't. And so I think it's important that we get rid of those words,
Yeah.
because as long as you're living and breathing, you have time to fulfill what you're here to fulfill.
Dr. Velma, I agree with you, but I want to push back on you just a little bit, because let
Okay.
me tell you what I have been has been my experience.
Hmm.
Okay, people have told me, "Oh, you need to do have this before this." A lot of times, I guess what I'm trying to say is, a lot of times it's not us putting those numbers on ourselves. is other people will try to tell us, well, but you at this age, you need to have this, or and then you start
Yeah.
feeling something's wrong with you. Well, I never thought that, but I
Right.
mean, people will try to make you think think that something's wrong with you if you haven't. What helped you not to listen to other people? Like the example you just gave about the man walking to the church. What has helped you not to let other people's idea of age affect what you do?
I had to come to that conclusion in very particular stages in my life. There's been other things that's come across my path that made me question if I was supposed to go in a particular direction because of who I was or
Hmm.
my age.
Hmm.
I recognized the fact that even in this book and this story, that little girl was simply living life and enjoying life. And I love the happiness of children because
Hmm.
they're not caught up with all the stuff that
Yeah.
we get caught up with, like the
Right.
words you just shared. They just simply enjoy life and is going about their days happy as a lark. But
Hmm.
we get caught up in some of the words and the things people say. And I just think that I had to learn to tune that out, even in the
Yeah.
story, in the book.
Hmm.
People were coming at me, trying to chip away at who I was all the time. I
Yeah.
simply walked into my very first job and I was one of three secretaries. And the other two decided that they didn't want to be connected with me at all. So they did whatever they could to share negative things about me
Hmm.
during my initial stages. And so my supervisor decided to include that in her my very first probationary report. And I'm going, that could have destroyed me at that moment.
Right.
But I had to rise above it and say, wait, I made a commitment after high school. And yes, going back to what you said, many people are told go to high school, get your degree first. Don't do anything. Don't try to start a business. Get your
Mhm.
degree first.
Yeah.
That road is not the road for everybody. I
Right.
decided my mother raised 7 kids by herself, and my goal in graduating was to get off of her payroll. I didn't want her to be responsible for me anymore. I
Yeah.
wanted to take that pressure off of her. So I got a job at 18 right after graduation. And so that was the very first thing I had to deal with in real world
Mhm.
is a group of people who didn't like me because I walked through the office with my head up and they thought that was too haughty. And so my supervisor wrote that in my report and I included that in the book for a reason. That could have destroyed who I thought I was to be and do.
Mhm.
That could have destroyed my goal to get a job and provide for myself so my mother didn't have to work, but it didn't.
Right.
I just let it go and continued. I said, well, I looked at it this way, I'm going to be the best worker in this building
Mhm.
compared to those other two. And that's exactly what happened. I sought to learn everything about everything in the building. There's machines, how they operated, how they work. You know, back then we had the old fashioned typewriters. We were just getting into data processing. So I was the one that was willing to learn the data processing system that they bought one and
Mhm.
they put it on my desk, not the other two women, but my desk. And that's what I did. I built a reputation around my wanting to know everything and
Mm.
being the best at what I could do. And so that's what's important when you
Yeah.
hear those things.
So true, and thank you so much for sharing that. Ellen says, "I hope that Christians will support Christian authors." So happy for you, Dr. Velma. That she also says she loves Dr. Velma's voice. I'm in my 60s, she says, and I'm going to write my first book. I'm so comfortable aging in the literary world. Where age doesn't matter. We
Mhm.
don't have to say I'm too old. I totally agree with that. Hey, Related Extreme, hello to you over there on IG. And yes, Ellen, I'm knocking on 50. Knocking on 50.
Woohoo!
Very close. I'm excited about that. Melissa says, "Hey, my friend. Hey, you're not gonna say hey to Dr. Velma? All right. So, for those,
Excuse me. She's talking to me. I'm her friend.
okay.
You're Cyrus.
Really? Oh, I see.
Hi, Melissa,
I see.
my friend.
Great. For those who are just tuning in, welcome. You all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live, but we're simulcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and on Instagram. We're speaking with Dr. Velma Bagby today. She's a best-selling author, also media personality. She's so many great things, speaker as well. Let's talk about the media, though, Dr. Velma. You're gearing up for season 2 of Dr. Velma Talks. Now, you have 2 shows that you started. One is Dr. Velma Talks. Then you also have Finding Your Voice. Talk to us about Dr. Velma Talks and what separates it from Finding Your Voice.
Well, Dr. Velma Talks is about dating, relationships, and marriage. Finding your voice is really about discovering what you need to know about your journey through the experience of other folks who've already done that, have already been there, and then they share their tips and tools as to how you can push through it. So
Mhm.
finding your voice was related to my journey, and so now it's an opportunity on the podcast to open the door to others, to hear from other experts what they did to keep pushing, because people look at what you've accomplished and assume that it's a piece of cake. Well, it wasn't.
Right. Right.
Well, dating, relationships, and marriage has been a conversation that I've always wanted to talk about, and I thought was going to be what I would talk about in everything that I wrote. But I've expanded, but it's still my core message. There's
Hmm.
still challenges and problems and issues out there I feel that I have to continue to address. So,
Right.
season 2 is going to take characters in the Catch series, and we're going to do an analysis on why those characters are repeating the same mistakes. And
Mm.
hopefully, as a result, the audience will learn some tips and tools that they can use for themselves.
Love that. Looking forward to that. A lot of great things happening for you, Dr. Velma. I want to talk about one other book because you just celebrated another milestone, and that is with your book. I'm going to highlight it again on the Amazon. So, My 70s Love Story. You're
Yes.
doing something new with that. What can you tell us about it?
Am I doing something new?
Oh, I thought you were doing something new with it.
Yeah, somebody had a finger in my back. Oh, now I know. I am working on um, expanding that story and
Mhm.
writing my 70s love stories 50 years later, because we've been married 51 years, and to really get into to a deep dive on some of the other challenges, some of the other celebrations that my husband and I have experienced. And I
Yeah.
just recently wrote one piece that's going into an anthology that will be in the book,
Mhm.
and that's coming out soon, and it's called Destroying the Curse of Divorce. There was a period of time in my husband and our lives, around 20 years, where we hit a rough patch and almost thought it was over. So I
Wow.
talk about why I find so many people give up too soon, why you have to understand the challenges that will come up against your marriage, because there's an enemy of ours who hates unity and agreement, and you have to understand that he will come after you. And
Yeah.
so it's important for you to know and know how to press forward and keep going.
Right, right. Such a great thing. A lot of great things happening. Dr. Van, it's
Mhm.
always a pleasure to be able to speak with you.
Thank you,
I
sir.
appreciate the time. I appreciate all of you being with us. So, Dr. Velma, let our audience know not only how they can stay connected with you, but how can they take advantage of getting some of the merchandise you have too.
Woohoo! Yeah, we got some wonderful boxes coming out, including the Hold Your Head Up t-shirts and a few other. There's going to be a Hold Your Head Up Princess box.
Hmm.
So those things will be coming, and you can find out what they are and what's being offered by going to my website. So please make sure you subscribe so that you're a part of the newsletter that will be going out to share some of the specials. But
Hmm.
feel free to connect with me on all social media platforms as Dr. Velma Bagby. I do suggest that if you would thanks, Melissa.
Hmm.
Yours is coming. Um, if you would sign up on my YouTube channel, you and set the notification, it will notify you when the podcast episodes are released. So that way you'll stay connected in that way as well. So I
Love it.
appreciate your support, and I thank you, everyone, all my friends that are on this live.
Mhm.
Thank you for coming in.
Mm. Hello to you, Sherry, over on IG. And Related Extreme says, great interview. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Velma, always a pleasure. Looking forward to our next chat together.
Thanks, Cyrus.
More than welcome. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.